Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Back 4 to 5 years ago, I worked in a large blue and yellow electronics retail. It was Black Friday, and of course, it was insanely busy. I was working in the phone/mobile section, and unfortunately, we had several registers there that were theoretically only for selling cell phones. It has been a busy night. I've been flying through sales and have been in the building since 4 a.m., so I'm not the happiest camper. Enter Karen. Karen has loaded up a massive shopping cart and has decided that my register was quicker than going through the line at the front, and has so cleverly placed a single pop socket on her pile of crap to have an excuse to buy from my register. I see through the ruse. But at this point, I can tell it'll be quicker to just ring her up and get her gone. As I'm ringing her things up, I scan a karaoke machine for her. Excuse me, that karaoke machine is the wrong price. It's $40 to $50. Not bad for a $100 karaoke machine. Oh, I'm sorry. Did the tag have an incorrect price? Spoiler alert, I knew it didn't, since I was voluntold to help with the ad set the previous night. I put the tag out there myself. It's supposed to be $7.99. She belligerently claimed. I'm sorry, but I'm currently certain that the current sale price is the correct price. It was under a tag that said $7.99. It's false advertising if you don't sell it to me for that price. Odds are another customer had picked it up and set it back down next to a different price tag. Well, you guys should make sure that things go back to the right places, otherwise you have to sell this to me for the advertised price. So, you expect us to individually follow around every one of these people? I gestured to the throng of rabbit choppers. To make sure not a single one of them put something back in a wrong spot? Well, so you want one of us to personally follow you around the entire time you're shopping? On Black Friday? Why don't you show me that tag where you found it, huh? We ditch her cart at my register as she leads me over to the battery aisle, where she proudly points out a tiny empty pig tag sitting above an empty shelf. I grabbed the tag and read out to her. 4 PK rechargeable AA batteries. Did that box look like AA batteries? No, but then it's not false advertising, and I'm not price matching it. Then she let me complete the rest of the sale without so much as a peep. For those of you that have read my posts, you know that I have a surplus of insane and entitled people. Well, today is a double feature and a sequel. Both incidents revolve around the same item 2 weeks apart about 10 years ago. Story 1. It was a fine Saturday afternoon when I observed a couple walking down the aisle at the flea market I did back then. Suddenly, the man stops and his eyes open wide at an item on a rack I had in front. He starts to ask a question and the wifey tells him to get a move on because she wants to keep moving. Translation: I don't want to waste time having you look at things you like. He ignores her and asks about the item. Is that UFO? For those of you that do not know, UFO was a British TV series put out by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson back in 1970, and it was shown in the US in 1975 or so, and has one of the best TV themes. I told him yes, that it was the complete series and the price. The wife, I will call her Beg, she said, "You're not getting it." Husband spent the next several minutes telling her how important this show was to him and that he had not seen it in 40 years. During this, Beg was rolling her eyes and doing the "I don't care" arm cross. In fact, that was her response. "I don't care. You aren't getting it." The husband stated that she brought all sorts of crap that wasn't needed. Of course, as we all know, that was a wrong thing to say because that's different. She yelled at him that everything she bought was needed. He replied that we didn't need the incense and some other items that I don't remember. But of course she said that they needed everything she bought and the discussion was over. She then said to stop this foolishness. He wasn't getting it and they were leaving. She walked away and Happy followed her. So, now a week goes by and another guy saw the DVD and went through the same questions. He said that he would take it and to please hurry before his wife showed up. Well, not fast enough, she asked what he was buying. When she found out, she had the same reaction. I had his credit card in my hand and as I was about to process it, she yelled at me not to dare run it. He wasn't to buy it. And if I ran the card, she would stop payment on it. I asked her if she was going to commit credit card fraud by doing this and she said, "Whatever it takes." I said, "Sir, I cannot take your credit card," and handed it back. She seemed to attempt to take it, so I handed it over a few feet to his left so she couldn't reach it. She was annoyed at that, but who cares? She said, "Good, now let's go." Now, like the first wife, she had bags of crap. He looked at her while he put his card back into his wallet. However, his spine soon showed itself. No, she didn't remove it like Predator because he took out a $50 bill and handed it to me. Her face dropped and she literally attempted to jump over my table to get it away from me. Yes, she literally jumped. I took the DVD and started to put it in the bag and she was yelling for me to not sell it to him. I looked at the guy and asked him if he was over 18 and of course he said yes. I told her that there was nothing she could do to stop me as he was a legal adult and to have a nice day. He thanked me and walked away carrying his new position down the aisle with his wife yelling at him. Fun time. Now the sequel. Not 10 minutes later, the first guy comes up, Sam's wife, and he asks if I still have that DVD. I told him that this guy's wife erupted when I sold it, and he said that he doesn't get it. I said that I see this several times a week to varying degrees. I do. This is universal. I checked my distributor's website and saw that there was another available, and I could order it for him. But I told him I would need a 50% deposit for understandable reasons. He agreed and gave me half in cash on the spot. I hit order and told him I would have it next week, but to make sure he gave me his cell number to let him know. So it comes in and I call him. She overhears and I heard her yelling that she said he couldn't have it and to get his deposit back. He told her that it was non-refundable and that was it. She said she was going to go to the market to get his money back and he said, "No, you're not." He wanted it and he was going to buy it. He came in that week, paid the balance and apologized for the grief. I told him that it was common and told him other incidents in the past. He was one of the few that actually managed to get what he wanted. He thanked me again and he left. As a bit of backstory, this happened 20 years ago when I was still available to drive. I'm a little person, have dwarfism, and I'm a petite 3 feet 2 tall. I went out to shop at our local mall and parked in my usual lift van accessible handicapped spot that was 1.5 spots in width and had the painted lines to mark the lift space. It was around 5 p.m. in late fall, so headed towards dusk lighting wise. Got done with my errands in the mall and came out to hop in my modified, fully hand-controlled vehicle to go home, which was 5 to 10 minutes away. As I come around to the back of my car, I start using my remote to open the passenger side sliding door to open up my lift and lower/extend it so I can get in my van. To my surprise, I see a tiny red Miata sport car parked on the extra space where the lift had to go down. The car was so close in fact that I couldn't even easily walk with my walker, which was only a foot or so wide between the two vehicles. This was now 8 p.m.-ish. Full darkness and getting a bit chilly. This was also before widespread cell phones, so calling mall security or a friend to help me get in wasn't gonna be easy. As I'm standing there getting more frustrated, beefed and cold, 15 to 20 minutes later, I finally see a tall thin guy heading towards what I hoped was a Miata next to my van. Turns out, he was the entitled jerk who owned/drove that Miata. He almost doesn't even see me or the lift stuck partially open, blocking his drive door. He spins around startled, looking for the polite but still annoyed female voice asking him, "Sir, is this your car parking me in?" Yes. Where are you? Oh, looking down finally. Yes, it is. Did you realize you parked on the left side of my accessible van? In a van-only spot? Yeah, I always do this. The extra painted off widths is just to allow handicapped drivers to be lazier/bad at parking. You don't really need the extra space, you're so tiny. He has the guts to laugh in my face at his own poor taste attempt to be funny. I look around slightly nervous, pretty much unable to do much if he decided to become more aggressive about this. Are you leaving now? I can't put my lift down or get into my car until yours has moved. And it's sorta chilly, and I need to get going. Folks are waiting on me. I was just grabbing something from my car. I'm in the middle of dinner in one of the restaurants nearby. I'm not done with my plans. My girlfriend is waiting for me. He looks at my open lift/door and reaches over, tries to force left/push the heavy metal platform back up and into my van, potentially breaking very expensive equipment in the process. Please stop, I say, trying with a tiny hand to hold the lift in place. That could break it without the power on, and I can't finish its unfold process with your car in the way. Just at this moment, I see the yellow roof lights of the mall security guy's SUV and I try to flag them down. He doesn't see me, but thankfully another guy is walking our way and sees my tiny, urgent form waving frantically. Let's call him CGS, Q Good Samaritan. Hi miss, are you okay? Need any help? He was approximately 6'2" or so, lumberjacky looking with a fluffy dark beard and a nice smile. I pointed to my van, the two close Miata and the entitled jerk, its owner. I quickly summed up my situation and a stern expression came over his friendly face as he stared holes through this entitled jerk. I'll fix this for you. Hang tight, miss. He strode towards the entitled jerk and started saying basically that the dude had two options at that moment. One, get in his crappy little car and move it far away from the nice lady's van. Or two, start running. I couldn't stifle a giggle as the entitled jerk instantly chose door number 2 and awkwardly sprinted off, presumably back towards the place his girlfriend was waiting for him. CGS turned to me and sighed and asked if I had a way of closing up the left and sliding door without being in the car, and I said my remote did that very process. The security guy said if it was okay with me, he'd help me up into the driver's side of my van via the other regular door, the non-left one. I tell him sure, if you want to heft 85 pounds of little person, let's give it a go. Normally, as a dwarf, I don't prefer being picked up by strangers. But he'd basically come to my rescue and I needed/wanted to get home. We closed up the left and unlocked the other sliders so the security could very gently and respectfully lift me into my car and be sure I was able to get into my driver's seat and buckle in. He wrote down the entitled jerk's plate number and said he would make sure the entitled jerk would regret messing with me in a legal sense by the time he got done with him. Turns out the security guy was a local, well-respected lawyer and he did indeed make sure that the entitled jerk got what he deserved. Update. So about 3 to 5 days after the parked-in incident, the nice lawyer who rescued me contacted me to update me on what he'd managed to do to the Miata's owner. He'd reported the illegal parking to the local police precinct and filled out a general harassment against someone with disability, and I eventually went in to give statements and provide photos of my van with its clear "do not park within 3 feet of this left door" reflective sticker and so on. The entitled jerk gets questioned and so on, tries to deny it all and say that I, the tiny 3 feet tall lass, was a problem. Turns out my Good Samaritan lawyer was ADA for the main town in my area and had means to make sure the dude was gonna regret that trip to the mall and his poopy parking choices. The entitled jerk got 30 days in community jail when all was said and done from an accumulation of prior minor traffic violations, a domestic report his girlfriend had submitted a few weeks prior, and my harassment and his attempt to break a piece worth $10,000 off my van. Twice. All in all, I felt pretty happy with that result. Hey everyone. So I work at a jail as an officer in a direct supervision jail. Basically, I'm in a pod with them when they exit their cells. Where I am, an officer typically supervises between 30 to 80 inmates on a given day. Now, as anyone in corrections can tell you, certain inmates like to talk crap. Some of them talk straight diarrhea out of their mouths. This is usually amplified during lockdown periods when an officer who isn't assigned to their pod is doing rounds. Personally, I get a lot of this, as I work the swing shifts and I basically fill in whenever an officer is needed that day. After over a year of working at this job, I developed a pretty thick skin to pretty much anything you could think of to call me. Now, the biggest way to deal with inmates who don't listen is to write an institutional charge, which is basically just a written document saying this guy broke the rules. There is a charge for harassing staff, which is mostly used to slap wrists when someone won't stop talking crap when they should. On this particular day, I was coming through a pod I had been in a few days ago to do count up everyone in a pod to make sure everyone is accounted for. An inmate who I had written up then saw me and started tossing insults my way over what he thought was just me trying to get him personally in trouble. Truth be told, I was happy to write him up because he was generally annoying, but I didn't single him out. Most of what he says is the most generic insulting stuff you end up hearing, mostly a lot of which an a-hole, which I largely ignored because I'd heard it all before. Before leaving the pod though, I hear him call out, "You know what? I dare you to write me up again." As an officer, that particular statement is a bigger statement than a normal dare. It essentially means I don't care about your authority, so I want you to write me up because I'll get away with it. So I just said okay, and I very visibly wrote down everything I had actually heard him say before leaving. All the while he was still yelling at me. So at the end of my shift, I wrote the report and left. Fast forward to today, when his hearing came up, I wasn't personally there, but I did receive an email as a typical follow-up. The hearing officer had decided he needed to have some actual punishment, and actually increased what I had recommended from 1 week of losing his phone privileges, basically a non-punishment, to 3 weeks of losing everything. No phone, no ordering food, no visitation. He must have really pissed that hearing officer off, but hey, them's the breaks. Thanks for listening. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.